Well, it's time for another interview with some wonderful guests. I hope you've been enjoying them throughout this book. You're going to enjoy this one. I just got a strong hunch. My guests are Anne and Brian Bercht. I want to get right into it because they deal with a situation that many, way too many, I should say, have faced and are facing. So, Anne, I'll just start with you. Did you really write a book called My Husband's Affair Was the Best Thing That Ever Happened to Me?
I get misquoted as having written that book a lot of times, but the actual title of my book is My Husband's Affair Became, very key word, the best thing that ever happened to me. Sometimes people quote it as the best thing that ever happened to my marriage, but so it was the most devastating experience of my life. And there was certainly a long period where I thought that I would never be able to live through it. It took us 2.5 years to heal. And back when Brian and I went through our journey, there just wasn't any professionals that we could find that were willing to address the affair issues straight on. That was back in 2000. I'm happy that there are some resources today, but miraculously, if you will, and maybe with the strong foundation that we had, we made it. And I think one of the things that was different for us is that the general narrative or belief in our culture is that affairs happen because of problems in a marriage. And that just didn't fit Brian and I's story. And it caused us both to have to look deeper in what happened and what were, the real issues. And the elephant in the room with the whole thing is that the affair actually has, surprise, more to do with the person having the affair than with the marriage itself. And while I don't deny that there's many marriages that are struggling in today's world, and those marriages might be more vulnerable to an affair, it actually does happen in good marriages as well. And so that's the root of the matter. And so after Brian and I healed, we just felt such a passion, like, what, this is such a big problem. Why isn't anybody addressing it straight on? And so we began to work actually initially on a volunteer basis with couples. Then we began to add education to our personal experience. And we began to see the common denominators that every couple needs to address in order, if it's their choice to heal, build a stronger marriage on the other side, because you're never going to be the same again. Right. You're going to be better or you're going to be worse. And given the pain involved, I would say, why choose worse? The only logical choice is to choose better if you choose to stay together. So.
And Ann, I know you folks have some great resources that I want to be sure we get to, but Brian, what are your perspectives on this whole situation? Before you even start, I want to commend both of you for your courage to come forward and say, hey, this is what happened to us. A lot of people wouldn't want to do that. So, Brian, what thoughts do you want to add to this conversation, please?
Well, there's a lot of things I'd love to share, Ron, but I'll first say that I think the ability to talk about what we did is largely because of the fact that we actually were fully healed before we started doing this. So there was much to my surprise when I had the affair, I didn't, I was surprised that I did, because it wasn't something I was intending to do or looking to do or even thought I was capable of doing, yet I did that. And I, all the boxes that I was supposed to check on how to affair proof my marriage, I had them all checked, but the affair was much more, had largely to do with myself rather than our relationship per se. And so I wasn't aware that a person or a couple could fully recover. I had known, numerous couples where there was infidelity that took place. However, and they were still together, but for the most part, there was always this trump card that got played when there was too much stress. And I knew that if that was recovery, that's not something I wanted. And I knew that I wanted to have a relationship where we were back on equal ground with each other, where I wasn't always subject to being, villainized for what I did. And so Surprisingly, as Anne said, it took us like 2.5 years to recover, and we started the work. And the interesting thing about the work that we've done is, over the years, there's like no guilt or shame associated for what I've done because of the work that I did back then. I don't carry around that, that sorrow and that the self-loathing, attitude, because my wife looks at me as her hero today because I did enough work, and I did the work necessary to help her heal, and also for help myself to heal. And I think that that's an opportunity that everybody has. And certainly, I believe that even if your relationship doesn't recover, per se, the individuals that are, the person who acted unfaithfully or the betrayed spouse still needs to heal. And I think that is critical to their health and well-being as they move forward in life.
Right.
So,
a thought just popped into my mind, and I want to make sure we let people know how to get a hold of you, because this is going to spark some interest, I know. And but I heard a quote recently: "We ought to be careful not to judge others who sin differently than we do." There's a lot of meat in that. But again, I know you folks have several resources, and you and I were talking last week, something I didn't know, that you have intensives. Could we spend our remaining moments talking about that briefly, please?
Sure. So when we were healed, Brian and I both looked at it and we thought, what did we really need back then to help us heal? And counseling, ever so respectfully, and I did go through a year and a half of counseling, felt like a form of torture in this context, that the session was a week or an hour long, and then it ended, and it was like, you're kidding me. The hour is over. You are sending me back to live with him for an entire week. And in that week, we would usually do more damage to each other. And so it's very hard to move forward. And so we've designed these 3-day intensives that give couples all of the tools that they need, all of the interactions, so that they're equipped and they can actually really begin the healing journey. So that's what we specialize in, the healing from affairs for couples. We have a program called Take Your Life Back, which is for betrayed women only. And Brian runs a program called Man of Honor, a 3-day retreat for men, helping them not only move beyond, but to stay the course.
Wow. I got so many emotions going through me right now, but thank you. Because again, this is something that so many marriages have been impacted by. So many marriages say it's over. And again, Anne, I think we were saying off air, it's not our place to judge. If people decide that's what's right for them, then so be it. But I'm glad that you folks are here right now telling people, hey, it doesn't have to be that way. There is an option, a very good option. Brian, how do people get a hold of you if they want more information?
So the simplest way is to reach out to our on us online at beyondaffairs.com. That's the best way. Or you could call our office at 937-912-4738. I believe that's our office number.
9738.
Okay, I will type that more confidently in the book. But again, folks,
I never call my office anymore.
I know. See,
so.
But again, thank you for what you're doing. You are serving, and again, the courage it took, but the blessings that I hope you're receiving, because you're touching so many lives. And if we had time, I'd love to hear you share some of the testimonies from people that you've helped heal, and there is healing. And that's the message that I wanted readers of my book to learn right now. And I think we've accomplished that. So unless you have a final parting word, Anne, do you?
No, I can leave it at that, Ron, and just want to say thank you so much for having us.
Oh, you bet. Brian, any last word you want to share?
No, I'll just leave it at that. If I start, I won't stop, and that's the problem. So we'll just kind of call her good there. Ron, thank you so much for this time, and we're just so happy that you've chosen us to be able to be part of the work that you are doing, and I commend you for that. And wish you the best as we move forward.
Thank you. People who read my books or hear me speak, hear me often mention Smart Marriage conferences. And I often say I met some amazing people at those conferences. please put yourselves in that category, would you?
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Ron.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.